Good evening. Sunday at 9 is the program, and I'm Bob Cranes. Recently, Ben Manilla and I were in Montego Bay, Jamaica for the Jamaica World Music Festival. It was the last time that Squeeze played as a band, and hours before the show, we sat down and spoke to Glenn Tilbrook and Chris Difford. Tonight, we're proud to present that exclusive conversation here and only here at WLIR.
I'm Ben Manilla, and with me is
Bob Cranes.
And we're sitting practically poolside at the Rose Hall Hotel in Montego Bay, Jamaica, with Chris Difford, the songwriter, guitarist, singer from Squeeze. How you doing, anyway?
Oh, I've just got up, actually. I'm fine. It looks like I've missed all the sunlight.
I think maybe the sun will last for a little while longer. Hopefully you can get into the ocean.
No, I'm not an ocean-going man, really. I'm not amphibious like most people.
How were your two shows at the Nassau Coliseum?
The first night was the best. It was tremendous. It seemed a lot younger than the second night. Second night was on Thanksgiving night, and everybody seemed to be full of turkey. So they were all sort of flapping around, not doing a lot. It was good. It was good fun, though.
We have to thank you not only for the great music that you've given us with Squeeze over the years, but also for ending your United States tour on Long Island.
Yeah, well, our first gig actually in America was in Bethlehem, wherever that is. I can't remember where it is now. But I know we toured a lot there, so we decided to finish it there.
Well, I'm curious, what's going through your mind? In about 6 or 8 hours, you will have finished your final set with the band Squeeze, a project you've been working on for 5, 6, 7 years now. Well, what's going through your mind right now?
Not a lot. I haven't thought about it, actually. I think I was more emotionally sort of moved by the breakup of the band 2 hours before we went on stage in Britain, and thinking this is the last time this band will play in Britain. And then I thought that when we were in the States, I thought this is the last time we're going to be playing in America, 2 hours before I went on stage. But this is the first time we've ever played in Jamaica, so it's going to be the first and the last, so it doesn't hurt me as bad,
We're live on WLIR with Chris Difford from Squeeze. I'm Bob Cranes. Looking back at the whole Squeeze thing, is there one moment that stands out in your mind right now?
I think probably touring America in the way that we have, month after month after month, putting a lot of hard work in. You never can forget that. I don't think. And of course, the reward of actually playing Madison Square Gardens at the end of that, 3 years of hard work, I think is good. And I think that's the way it should end.
Was the Madison Square Garden show the most fun you had playing in America?
It was the quickest gig I've ever had in America. It went by like 10 minutes or something. No, I think they've all been fun for their own reasons.
Can you give us any clues as to what you're going to be up to once Squeeze is behind you?
Yeah, Glenn and I are taking a month off, and we have a musical that goes into rehearsals on January the 3rd. So we're going to spend the whole of January and February working on that in Britain, and then we're going to start writing for a new band, and we'll probably get a new band together in July.
Any names of the musical or of the band?
Well, the musical is set around the album East Side Story, but it's not going to be called East Side Story, it's going to be called Is That Love? And I can't really say about the band because I don't want anybody to know about it. This is Chris Difford from Squeeze, and you're listening to WLIR-FM at 92.7 in marvellous crackling stereo.
We're back with Chris Difford. Thinking back over the songs that you've written the last few years, you think in 4 or 5 years from now, what are the important ones going to be? Which ones will be the ones that will really survive, do you think, the songs?
Well, when we get a new band, we're not going to be playing any of the old songs. But for me personally, I think something like Woman's World was one of the rarest songs that I've ever written. I think you could write a stage play around that one song and get away with it.
It was pretty amazing to me that song really never caught on, because it's intricate and complicated and yet simple at the same time. But lyrically, it really says a lot.
Yeah, I know. It just didn't. I don't know why people didn't pick up on it. But then you can't expect the world, Apart from that, I like a song called What the Butler Saw, which was a B-side of one of our records. Just really good.
I remember that. What about a song that you have performed live in concert a number of times, which I don't think has appeared ever, is Yap Yap Yap?
Yes, a B-side of Tempted in Britain, and probably here too.
I don't think it was ever released in the States. I may be wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah, you're wrong. It was released. I'm positive, yeah.
Oh, what a shame. I wish I had a copy of it.
What effect did the heavy personnel changes in Squeeze have on the band as a whole?
Starting with the bass, the change in the bass.
Well, when Harry left when we kicked Harry out of the band, nothing really affected me about that. We were too young then, you know. Then when Julian left the band, I kind of thought, well, I was very emotionally moved by it, you know. And I didn't really want him to leave, but at the same time I could see that it would do him and us a lot of good if he did leave, because his humour was getting too much into the band and the serious side wasn't coming out enough. The balance wasn't quite even, you know. So when he left, I was sort of emotionally moved for a while and then happy. And then when Paul Carrack left, I sort of gave up really. I said that if anybody else left the band within the next six months, the band would finish anyway, because I couldn't envisage the band keep having new members and turning over, because it ceases to become a group. It becomes like a music co-op, you know, where people come along and play for a while and then leave and stuff. So I think the band would have split up if anybody else had left, and I think that possibly could have happened.
How do you feel playing with Don Snow on keyboards?
He's great. He's one of the best piano players, keyboard players I've ever played with.
WLIR, Chris Difford from Squeeze is with us. We're sitting poolside at the Rose Hall Hotel in Montego Bay, Jamaica. How would you respond to the statement that Squeeze really started disintegrating when Jules left? How would you respond to that statement?
Well, record sales went up when Julian left the band, so I can't see that as being a fact. I mean, everybody's got their own personal views of the band, I guess. Everybody now will come forward and say their piece. But I think probably East Side Story was the most fun album to make, and that was with Paul Carrack. So I don't really go along with that.
Elvis Costello was involved with that too, wasn't he, on a more direct level?
Yeah, well, he produced it. So
I know Paul Carrack and East Side Story and Tempted could all sort of intertwine. What effect did Tempted was climbing the U.S. charts at the time, and you were touring the United States at the time, and I think just after that, after the U.S. tour and after Tempted was happening, Paul left. Was there a real hard sort of feeling within the band at that point?
No, I think the reason that Tempted didn't get any higher in the chart was simply because the record company pulled out on it. It got to a certain degree, you know, it got to a certain level. I don't know how the American charts work over here. I'm still totally confused by it all. But I'm sure there's a lot more goes on than meets the eye. In other words, there's a lot more organisation towards building singles into the charts. I'm sure it's not just how many record ships, although in Olivia Newton-John's case that could be true, I don't know. But with us and Tempted, it got to a certain level, and then, you know, the blocks were pulled from under it and it fell away. I suppose it would have been madness if it had gone any higher without Paul being in the band.
Is there any bitterness left for the fact that you never really were accepted by the mass American public?
No, I don't. I never ever wanted that. I think if we'd have been in the position now of, say, for want of a better band, I suppose Styx or somebody, selling, you know, millions of albums each year and touring for 7 months a year, I'd rather not have that. I'd rather have a little bit of success and a little bit of time off and a little bit of sanity, you know. But equally so, you know, I crave playing live, so therefore when we get a new band we'll be working straight away. It's going to be interesting to see how it works, because we won't be playing any of the old songs, so we'll be getting either a totally new audience or what the hell, I don't know.
Is it going to be refreshing for you to start over again, or is it going to be frustrating for you to start over again with a new band?
It's going to be really easy, I think. Not easy, but I mean, we've got now until July to write songs for the new band. We've already got 20 or 30 songs that we could use. And well, I've only had about 3 hours off, you know. So, you know, I think I love to work at writing, and I haven't had really the opportunity to write as much as I'd like to for about 4 years now. So, you know, next month I'll be able to go on a holiday or go home or wherever I go, I don't know where I'm going to go yet, and sit down and discipline myself to write 3 songs a day for a month, and that way I'll build up the stockpile, you know.
1982 seems to be a year where a lot of bands are making peace with themselves and splitting up. The Jam, The Who, Squeeze, there's talk of XTC doing it. I don't know if that's true or not. Japan is another one. Do you think it's just serendipity, luck, that this is happening this way, or fate, or is there a reason behind this going on?
Well, if you think that all those bands, not the Who, of course, all the younger bands, started around the same time. I was talking to Paul Weller about it a couple of weeks ago, and so was Glenn. And, you know, I think that we started off at one level, and either our songwriting or something has moved on and something else has stayed still. And with Paul Weller, his songwriting has moved up in leaps and bounds, his songwriting, and his band, all due respect to them, haven't moved as fast. So I think it's a good move for Paul to make, to get another band. But the other thing about it is the other members of the band really wanted to break the States, and he didn't. You know what he thinks of the States, right? Well, there you go.
If I could sort of just mention 1 or 2 songs and ask you what pops into your mind sitting here today, starting with Another Nail in My Heart. What memories do you have about recording that song and putting it down for Argy Bargy?
That song, I sort of have a crimson vision of it somehow. I don't know. I don't remember much about recording that album because it went on quite a long time. Most of the time I slept on the floor. But I remember being amused that it started with a verse and then went into a guitar solo and then 2 more verses, so it was like, you know, it was quite an interesting song, and when it was finished it sounded like a polished shoe.
We're WLIR 92.7. I'm Bob Cranes with Ben Manilla, Montego Bay, Jamaica. Chris Difford is with us from Squeeze. How about Pulling Muscles?
Oh, there was a couple of different versions of that song. So there was one that had backing vocals on, and it was a bit more humorous, I think. The backing vocals were quite funny. They had nothing to do with the song, and I think in all the versions that I know, I think I prefer that. But that's been the most enjoyable song to play live, because I think everybody moves at the same speed of knots to that song.
I know your time is tight and you got to get going. What I do want to ask you is, you only have a few hours left with Squeeze as we speak right now. You've left a lot of music for us, and we have to thank you for that. Is there something that you'd like to say, some sort of parting shot for the WLIR audience, an audience that's been supporting you and the band Squeeze from the very beginning?
Well, obviously I'd like to, you know, thank everybody for their support to the band's career. You know, everybody's been delighted by it and, you know, made very happy by it. And I'll see you in July.
WLIR, the station that dares to be different. I'm Bob Cranes, and tonight on Sunday at 9, you're listening to a conversation with Glenn Tilbrook of Squeeze.
Well, you guys are going on for the final time in about 6 or 8 hours, something like that. What's going through your mind right now?
I'm wondering exactly when my friend's going to get served at the bar, because he's getting me my first drink of the day, and I'm wondering just how long that's going to take. I don't mean to be facetious, but what's going through my mind is the fact I'm just up for a good gig tonight. I mean, it's nothing, I don't think it's any particular big deal, because the big deal was when we decided to split the band up. So beyond that, it's been a friendly time that we've been having together.
Chris was telling us a bit about a musical that the two of you were working on based on the songs from East Side Story. Could you tell us a little more about that?
Well, I don't know exactly, what Chris mentioned here, but I know there isn't an awful lot to tell at this moment, except that it's based on East Side Story. There may be a couple of new songs in it, and it's going to rehearsal from January onwards. Someone else is scripting it, and it's a strictly small-scale production in a theatre fairly local to where we live in London. It's just an interesting way of approaching working something like that, because we've never had any experience in that sort of field. And it's also, most of the songs are done, so there's no work, from that point of view. It's just something interesting to be involved with.
Exclusively on WLIR, Glenn Tilbrook from Squeeze is with us. I'm Bob Cranes reporting from Montego Bay, Jamaica. I asked Chris this question before. If you had to put your finger on one of the most exciting moments that took place with Squeeze, could you do that?
I find it fairly impossible to do that, because I think that exciting moments go in stages. It's sort of like okay, well then one of the most memorable gigs we did was actually the first Nassau Coliseum gig we did last week. I think that gig is one of the best gigs we've ever done, and it was the reaction we got knocked me over sideways.
How do you feel about what's going on today, the Jamaica World Music Festival, all the different bands from all over the world, and where does Squeeze fit in?
I don't see where we fit in, but I think it's a great idea on paper, and actually it's been extremely pleasant being down here. But I think, I feel a bit sorry for the people who are running the thing, because it seems fairly obvious they're going to lose quite a lot of money from the attendance. The attendance hasn't been, what they were hoping for. And also, I think the idea of taking bands out of all sorts of different fields and plonking them on one bill, although interesting for me and for obviously several thousand other people, I think it puts off more people than it attracts, because if you're going to come down to Jamaica to see a lineup like that, you've got to really like an awful lot of the bands on, and I can't see that much of a cross-section appealing to a lot of people.
Tilbrook from Squeeze. You're listening to WLIR-FM at 92.7 in stereo.
All the different personnel changes that took place in Squeeze, did that have a major effect on what's going on with the band right now?
No, not with the band right now. I think any personnel change has its effect on the band, or has had its effect on the band, because each player, I thought, has brought in their own element of personality and style, which is important for something that's going to be a band. I think everyone should, be able to swing their weight, and that's happened, fortunately, throughout Squeeze. I think the more changes we have had in the band, the more difficult it's been for any player to come in and assume other people's roles. In some songs, there are certain bits that need to be played the same way, just because that's the way the song goes, So I think, someone like Don has coped with that admirably.
On behalf of the entire WLIR audience, we have to thank you for giving us so much great music over the years, and we have to wish you the best of luck in all your future ventures.
Oh, well, I'd like to say thanks very much. I'd also like to say that I've been listening to LIR when I was in New York. I could just about get it on the radio, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's the best station I've heard in ages.
And that concludes this week's edition of Sunday at 9. I'm Bob Cranes. With me tonight was Ben Manilla. You've been listening to a conversation with Chris Difford and Glenn Tilbrook of Squeeze, recorded in Montego Bay, Jamaica.